Hi all, this is the badging video for the Flexshaft here at MakeHaven. So the Flexshaft is a pretty fundamental tool in a lot of jewelry making. We have a separate badge for it because there are a few ins and outs to the tool that we want to make sure everyone is familiar with. And it might not be covered in every class, and everyone coming to the space with prior experience may not know all the bits and pieces, so we're just going to cover it briefly here. So basically, Flexshaft is a motor with a flexible shaft going to your handheld piece that can hold all your different tools in the end. The first thing we're going to look at is just like the basic anatomy. So here we have the motor, here's the power cord, it is labeled. There's actually no power switch on this, so when you're done, make sure to unplug it so that someone doesn't accidentally step on the foot pedal and turn it on when they don't need to. Down below is the foot pedal. And now we're going to look at the various bits and pieces going on here. So the first thing to know is that about every 50 hours, they say, but plus or minus, you need to oil the shaft to make sure that it can spin nice and easily. The way to do that is to remove the head. To do that, you just pull on it, pretty straightforward. And then we're gonna slide the cover off of the shaft. So we're gonna turn this. It's already loosened, but if you needed to loosen it, you can just grab an adjustable wrench. And this one is reverse threaded. So to remove it, you actually turn to the right. And it's even labeled up there. It says remove with an arrow to the right. So we're gonna unscrew this. And then slide it down. And it'll come right off the end. And then if there was, this is fairly new, but if it had been used for a while, it might have some black gunk on it, in which case you just take a cloth or paper towel and wipe that off so it's nice and clean. This is already well lubricated, so we don't need to put much more lubricant on it. This is just to show you how you would do it. So this is the Fordham shaft lubricant. Just take this off, and so then you just take the lubricant and dab a little bit on along the length of the shaft, and then you're just going to stop before you get too close to the tip, because it'll find its way down on its own. And then to reassemble, you just put it back together the other way. I forget if I mentioned this before, but you must have the machine unplugged while you're doing this. You don't want it to accidentally turn on you. And then we're just going to feed this right back down. And tighten this back up. And then we'll just give it a little snugging with this. There we go. To reattach the handpiece, you just pop it right back in. There's a little key on here, and you need to make sure that that key lines up with the keyhole or the keyway right down in there. So to do that, you can just kind of turn it until it finds itself, and it'll pop right back on. And then again, to take it off, you just pop it off. Alright, so now in terms of safety things, it is definitely strongly advisable to wear a mask when you're using this tool. It sprays off a lot of fine particulate, and you want to make sure that you aren't breathing that in. So even when masks aren't required for COVID here at MakeHaven, you should wear one when you're using the Flexshaft. You don't want your hair or any jewelry or necklaces or stuff to be dangling, because it's spinning super fast and you get caught up in here very quickly, so make sure to tie everything up so that doesn't happen. Obviously eye protection always in the metal shop, but also when you're using this, pieces can come flying off and if they break. So now we will look at some of the accessories and how to put them on. So here we have a set of little burr attachments that you can put on there. All of these can go right here into this chuck and then get tightened with the chuck key, which lives right in the middle. So we just loosen this up. And tighten this right in here. And then you just get it nice and snug. The chuck is protected by this little shield, so you don't get your finger caught in there or anything. There are 3 holes in the side of the chuck, but you can just tighten on any of them. Okay, so now it's nice and tight. And then when you want to operate it, you'd plug it in, and then push the foot pedal. And the foot pedal has speed control, so the harder you push, the faster it spins. There are all different kinds of tips for different things that you might be doing. The flex shaft is obviously flexible, but it's not infinitely flexible, so you can't, don't try to bend it past what it can comfortably do, because it will bend and break inside. Make sure to have your workpiece secured in a bench vise of some kind, or something that's holding it so it isn't flying away on you. Then when you want to take when you're using a burr like this, you need to make sure to use the burr lube, which lives right up here. So when you're using it, you just take the lid off, and then you just take the tip, and when it's on or even off, you just put the tip in a little bit, and it gets the lube on there, which will help the tip last a lot longer and not get all clogged up and dull. I'll put this back. Then to remove the tool that you have in there, you just loosen it, and then it can come out. Then there's some other tips we'll look at. Here in this container, we have some other attachments. We have some sanding wheels that go on different kinds of mandrels. So we'll look at those. These little sanding sleeves slide onto a rubber mandrel. So we'll slide those on. And then to get it to be tight, what you do is you take a little screwdriver and you'll loosen it up first and then slide it on. And then to get it tight, when you screw down on the screwdriver, it squishes out that rubber sleeve and then holds on really tight to the sandpaper. So that's how that works. And then you would put it in the same way. And just as a note, all of these tips and attachments, these are just kind of communal ones. So if you want to have your own that are sharp and clean and whatever it is you might be looking for, then you'll just need to get your own and keep them separately. We might have some available in the store, but these are just communal and available for use. There are also different kinds of grinding plates in here and different sanding plates. So those go onto this kind of mandrel, and similarly you just use the screwdriver to loosen it up. Please don't lose these little screws. And this screw is pretty long, so you can put a tall stack in there of different kinds of wheels. So there's all these different kinds of wheels and attachments. On these, the different colors indicate different grits. If you use a bunch of those, so we'll take that off, put it through the hole, and I just dropped it, and then screw that back in here, right, and tighten it down, and you're good to go. And then similarly, you would just put that right into the head of the shaft, and we'll take you off. There are some buffing wheels in there, so when you're using those, you'll first touch it to the compound that you're using. So there are different compounds in these drawers. We have red and gray, so you would touch it into the rouge or compound to load up the wheel while it's spinning, because it'll sort of melt into it, and then you can use those for polishing. And then over in this drawer, we have Flexshaft grinding wheels. So in this little container, we have different rubberized abrasives. So in here you can see the different grits and the different purposes, whether it's for rough polishing, initial polishing, final finish. There are also some points in here which are great for getting into little nooks and crannies. There similarly are the mandrels here that you use to hold on to these various wheels. And then some of these other wheels have different edge profiles for getting into different spots and for different purposes. So those are most of the accessories. Over time we'll probably get more. There are other types of heads you can put on here too that have little hammers or other attachments that use the Flexshaft motor to power them. So with time we'll add those. When you're done, just make sure that this is unplugged, and as always, clean up your area to clean up the dust so it's a nice clean area for other folks to use. And put everything back where it belongs, and then you are good to go. So thanks for watching.